Okay, hello. Today we're going to be doing some work on literary devices and techniques. So the plan for today is we're going to use this list of literary devices here. It's not an extensive list, I just picked a few that I thought would be quite good to work through today. And we're going to go through these three Macbeth quotes and see if we can identify which literary devices from this list are in each of these quotes. So let's just get started. Let's start with the first one. If it were done when 'tis done, then 'twere well it were done quickly. And that's Macbeth, Act 1, Scene 7. So that's his soliloquy when he's deciding whether or not to murder King Duncan. So initially from the sound of it, if I say it again, because I said it quite quickly, if it were done when 'tis done, then twere well it were done quickly. That W sound repeats quite a lot. So that's an example of alliteration. So let's get the highlighter and highlight that. So we've got a W here, we've got W here, we've got another one here, and here. Alliteration. Now, alliteration is usually used to create a sense of fluidity. And in this case, Macbeth is trying to figure out if it's the right decision to go ahead with this murder of the king. So potentially that fluidity here is his kind of racing thoughts. It's his racing, intrusive thoughts trying to decide if this is the right thing to do or not. Let's go through a few more. Let's see what else we have. So repetition. I can see some repetition here. Let's get the highlights back out. Let's change the colour. Let's go for green. So we have were, got another one here and here. Let's type that in. So we've got repetition. Now I would say in this case, repeating the word were reiterates that kind of questioning that Macbeth is going through. What if I were to do this? What if Lady Macbeth were to help me? What if my life panned out in a different way? Were I to make a different decision? So that repetition there of the word "was" again is kind of recreating that fluidity that we get from the alliteration as well. That sense of racing thought, that sense of not being able to quiet his mind. See what else we have. Oh, actually, that's quite a good follow-on. That questioning about what he might do is a good example of foreshadowing. I mean, he himself as the character is trying to decide if he's going to carry out this huge mission of murdering his own king, who he values so highly. As the audience, we want to know what he's going to do as well. So Shakespeare's done quite a good job there of foreshadowing what might happen. We're trying to figure out, is he going to do this, or is he going to crumble and stay in the position of power that he's in? So that sounds good. Let's stick to 3 for the first one. Let's see if we can do 3 in each box. I think that's quite a good amount. So the next quote is, away and mock the time with fairest show, false face must hide what the false heart doth know. So again, this is another quote from Act 1, Scene 7, so still in his soliloquy. The first thing I hear from that actually is the rhyme, and that seems to be from show and know. So let's get another highlighter out. So away and mock the time with fairest show, false face must hide what the false heart doth know. So now let's type that in. So we've got rhyme. Now usually in Shakespeare's plays he reserves rhyme for supernatural or evil creatures, which is quite interesting here, as we know the witches are such a major part of this play. Might suggest that at this point in time Macbeth is fully under the spell of the witches, is fully within their power, which is quite interesting. Or alternatively, we do know that Lady Macbeth later in the play, which we'll see in this quote here, summons evil spirits herself. That could foreshadow that. So there's a few routes you can go down there, but just a little fact for his plays. Usually you hear rhyme with supernatural creatures, supernatural characters. What else have we got? We've got false face, which is another example of alliteration. So let's highlight that one too. False face. Again, that F sound, that repetitive F sound brings us in to that area. So false face, the idea of deception, the idea of distrust and uncertainty. I mean, we knew Macbeth to be brave and courageous, and now he's got this false face on him. He's hungry for power. He's turning into somebody who we originally wouldn't have said he is. And seeing that false face there actually, bringing us later to the quote, we can see another use of the word false there. So it's another colour. So we've got false there and we've got false here. So we can add that in as well. Got in this box. Repetition and alliteration from false face. And then false heart, I would also argue, is an example of juxtaposition. We usually consider heart to be attributed to our true desires, our true thoughts, our true feelings, unfiltered and raw. To put the word heart next to false is quite contradictory in this sense, and actually it makes sense when we think about Macbeth. What does his true heart want? What does he want at the core of his soul, at the core of his heart? Does he want this? It doesn't seem that way, which is why false face makes such an impact in this quote. So I think that's quite a good example of juxtaposition used by Shakespeare there. False heart, a heart that's something we know to be true, where all our true desires are, and actually Macbeth is completely going against it in this scene. Let's move on to our final quote. And this is from Lady Macbeth, who is one of my favourite characters. And I just think this scene is fantastic. It's when she's summoning evil spirits to remove her womanhood so she can help her husband and be a major part of this murder of the king. So let's read it, go through it. Come, you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, and sex me here and fill me from the crown to the toe top full of direst cruelty. So let's go through a few that we haven't used yet from this list. So let's go for symbolism, because I think there's quite a bit of symbolism in this quote. The words that stand out to me are, let's get another colour, are the word unsex, the word crown, and the words direst cruelty. They all seem to be linking to this idea of masculinity. Let's write that down alongside our symbolism. Being unsexed, removing all womanhood from herself and embracing all manhood. That's exactly what she desires, and she thinks she needs that to acquire that crown, that element of power, which is notoriously known to be only acquired by a man. And then bringing it back to this idea of direst cruelty. If you want to have that crown, you need to be as far from a woman as possible, and you need to be full of ruthlessness and cruelty and brutality. So I think there's a lot of symbolism in this that pertains to masculinity. Another one from the list we haven't used is imagery. I think that's quite a good one for this one as well, actually. Summoning evil spirits, asking to be unsexed, asking to be full of cruelty brings a kind of gory imagery to mind, I think, or like another word for it might be visceral. That's how I feel reading it. I feel a kind of like a horror, like an element of horror, to this quote and especially to this scene. And then finally, I can also see fill me from the crown to the toe top full of direst cruelty. So that's some more alliteration that we saw in the previous quotes as well. So let's that to the toe top full. Alliteration. And again, it's bringing the audience and the reader, it's bringing their attention to that section. She doesn't just want to be full of a bit of masculinity and remove some of her womanhood. She wants to be full of cruelty. She wants to become as masculine as she possibly can to achieve this goal of pure power that she so desperately wants. I think that's a really good example of alliteration, a really good way for the audience to be brought into that quote and to understand what she really wants. So yeah, if we had more time, we could do a bit more analysis, go through the reasons why he chose, the reasons why Shakespeare chose these literary devices. But that's all for today. But thank you for listening, and I'll see you soon.